Welcome back, listeners, to the Brighter Side of Blue, our worldwide podcast, live from the Columbo's Cafe and Tavern studio, and sponsored by Campbell Security Group. I'm Danny.
I'm Tommy.
I'm JJ.
I'm producer John of the Southside Johns.
I'm Huggy.
Huggy over there, and Jack Spector.
He's on his way, actually.
Yeah, how you didn't make it?
The gang is
They
all
said
here.
by 7.
Yeah, well, he's here. He's here. You know, at a car wash the other day, I was stopped by a listener who was up to date on all 28 or 29 podcasts. Simple question. When we say we're a worldwide podcast and we name that we're in well over 50 countries, are we actually in those countries, and is it documented, Tommy?
Uh-huh. Yep. Hey, John,
It
you
is.
just looked it up on YouTube. Who we got? We got some new ones.
Look, just as an example, Singapore, Austria, Russia, Guam, Puerto Rico, Indonesia,
Nigeria.
Japan, Bahamas, Greece, South Korea, Romania. Thank you very
What
much.
about Costa Rica?
Costa Rica.
I
Let
think
me
that's the
see.
United States.
I've been there. What?
Is it?
We got a lot in
Isn't that a
Ireland for some
territory or
reason.
something?
Ireland? That's probably my
Ireland,
family.
Australia, South Africa.
All right, that's enough. The answer to
Germany.
the question is yes.
No, the answer is yes.
New
I didn't
Zealand,
lie.
Norway,
We ate bullshit.
Denmark, Philippines, Philadelphia.
John, turn your mic off.
Hey, John, this is taking over your Newsweek.
It's not Newsweek, it's newsroom.com.
Newsroom.
Newsroom.
1914.
People
Check
love
it.
it.
So the listener, I said yes.
Wait a minute.
The answer is
Wait.
correct.
Update.
What do we got?
What's Jack eating today?
Jack's eating a bun, burger, cheese, fries.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something's
I like
going.
it.
This is weird. Something's going
This
on.
is very weird.
Good job, Jack.
Video Jack
Okay.
just got delivered another
You know what we got
burger
coming
and
up today,
cheese.
Danny?
What do we got?
Rebecca Smith, retired police officer, retired sergeant. She was the victim of a very traumatic incident involving sexual assault. We're not allowed to say the R word, so we won't say the R word, but she was a victim of that, and then she used that as motivation to come on the police department, and she tells a very powerful story, and she ended up as an investigator of those kind of incidents, and it was a really powerful story, and really appreciate her coming on. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we get closer to the interview, but that's our main story today. And I know last week we told you we were going to do Joe McCullough, who we interviewed last week, retired sergeant, also homicide, now the prosecutor out in St. Charles County, and but we thought they both needed after we all talked. They both needed their own show because
Right.
the interviews were that
They're
good.
powerful, compelling. Yep.
And they need their own show. Don't you agree, JJ?
100%.
I thought both of them were fantastic. So that's what we got coming up later. And what else you got for us, Danny?
No, I have nothing. I have a question for you. But so A, where are the sunglasses? And B, why were you wearing sunglasses last week?
These lights. Look at them things.
These nuts. What?
These lights. They're
These-
bright. And I had a little affliction.
They're not
on my eye
bright for
last
me or
week.
JJ, huh?
What's that?
They're not the same lights we look at every day.
Yeah, well, we're not high.
Does that make your eyes more sensitive?
Not that he
Yeah,
is.
it actually does.
See?
It's
See?
bright. Why? I mean, you get in a chill mood, and then these lights are right in you. Bang!
You know, I watched the show and not one of us mentioned anything about them. But then you started getting.
I did have inquiries that if I might have pissed off my wife,
Oh, really?
but that was not the case. You know, my wife.
Oh, she thought you gave you 2 black eyes?
Right, my wife's not opposed to whooping my ass every once in a while. You know how that goes.
All right. Yeah. You
I have that temperament where I can piss people off.
All right.
Everything's great, but the lights.
What happened? Oh, those
Well,
lights?
there was 8 Bud Lights behind you last week too.
Yeah,
Ooh,
we got yelled at for that too.
we got yelled at. So, it was
now
all
I'm
about
trying to hide.
that.
Shit.
Was our light issue.
Not-
Our light.
but those aren't all mine. Those were Danny. You use that too.
I didn't-
right?
it
This
was
is turning
I'm
into a
snitching.
snitch show.
Yeah,
This is a snitching
I'm
show.
slip snitching.
I didn't see Dan put any back there.
It was some of the staff other than us.
That's a very, very true story. Playing pickleball
Good.
today.
Jack's starting to drink beer now, so that's
Yeah. What's next, Jack? Crave cases.
crack cocaine. What? I'm just
Crave
going down.
cases.
He's going downhill.
He's
dude.
going bad.
Playing an intense pickleball game today, and my opponent, this
How
is
old?
out of the country club. He was The only reason you ask is you think
How
that
old
you're
was
going to
he?
make fun of me. I'm not. I don't know. I don't know.
Yes, you do.
I don't know. He's a gold medal winner in pickleball, and in the middle of a point, he stepped on a cicada
Oh, here we
and
go.
slid out and almost broke his arm. And you go over there, and the cicada guts are on the pickleball court. They're juicy. Those things are juicy.
Is it kind of like the
It's like he ate one.
the fireflies when you smear them? They have that.
Come on,
Like
Danny.
trail.
Tell me the guy's age.
No, because you guys are setting me up to make fun of me. He's a very good pickleball player, and that's all right. But he slipped on a cicada. You don't want to talk about cicada.
It slipped on a cicada.
No,
Just took
there-
himself out.
And it was so slippery, the guts of it. Have you-
How long is he out for?
No, he got right back up. He's
Oh.
He's a
agile.
tough 84-year-old.
Listen, have you been driving down and a cicada hit your windshield yet?
No.
Seriously,
I still stand by.
Producer
the line.
John? Yeah,
Oh, of course.
they just splatter. They're juicy anyway. I'm done with the cicada talk.
Thank you.
God, I'll be so glad when those things are gone.
They're gone at my house, by the way.
Yeah, I don't see him much.
I don't hear, but them frogs are out loud.
The frogs are out of
They're
control.
loud.
Half our
Playing
our
games.
listeners just tuned out.
I saw 3 ants on my front porch this morning.
Smash the shit out of them.
Hey,
They're gone
I
now.
saw a skunk cross the road last
National
night coming
Geographic.
home 2 in the morning.
All right, the wildlife stories are ending, thank God.
Yep.
Hey, yesterday was the anniversary of Captain Dave Dorn.
Yep.
So he was killed by during the protest times. His wife, Sergeant Ann Dorn's, she's still on the job, I think.
She's winding her time down.
Yeah, yeah. But
Shout
shout out.
always, keep him and the family in your prayers. And
My first captain.
Captain Dave Dorn.
Great man.
He was a policeman's policeman.
Yeah, he was.
Captain Dorn was. He was a great guy, and he'd back you to the hilt. And
Yep.
he was fun to be around, just all around.
What was his
tremendous guy.
nickname, Producer John? On the air,
Double D?
Squeaky.
Squeaky?
Yeah,
Double D.
he did have a high pitched voice,
he did have a.
He was funny.
He really.
but
did.
he was funny too.
No, he was
very
good.
funny.
I worked for him for a little bit in Vice Narcotics. Yeah, he was a good guy. JJ, terrible things up in New York.
Yes. We got, again, 2 New York coppers were shot. Thankfully that they were not seriously, they're going to survive with minor injuries, I guess, even though he got shot. But they were, what I think is insane is it was a Venezuelan immigrant that crossed the southern border. He was on a moped or a, what do you call those?
Moped.
Not a moped.
Scooters?
Scooter. Going down the wrong way, and then he ended up start shooting at the New York
I
coppers.
thought you were talking about him coming across the border.
He used that
the
same
scooter.
scooter to cross the border, I think. No, I'm just kidding. he has no other transportation. But yeah, he got across the border, and it's a shame. But yeah, thankfully that they're okay. And I think he was shot. I don't believe he was killed. But good work by the NYPD.
Yeah, hope they make a full recovery.
Yep.
Producer John, what do you have for us today? I'm not getting to the other thing yet, but I think you have something on your mind about a little questionnaire for us.
Oh yeah. I think about these things, and we sometimes we get we talk about other things like cicadas and skunks and squirrels and stuff. But I like to get back to kind of the police stuff every now and then. But what came to my mind today was, hey, every once in a while you get those opportunities. All right, most coppers work secondary. There's a lot of good secondary opportunities out there, but sometimes you just get that one, opportunity. It's like a one-time gig,
Yeah.
but it pays good, or it was fun, or you really enjoyed it. Do you guys have one of those in your repertoire? Jay?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Good gig.
sounds great.
What do you
I-
got, Danny?
I had awesome one. Me and Colonel Leshock were hired to spend 36 hours with Vice President Dick Cheney. He was no longer the active vice president, but he was speaking at a convention for Edward Jones down at the Union Station. And so he had the presidential suite, I guess the vice presidential suite, and they rented a
They had to rename it for one day.
yeah, they did. But on each side of the vice presidential suite, they rented a room, one for Colonel Leshock and one for me. So we had them on bookends, and we ended up spending some crazy amount of time with him. And then his handlers, when he was done with the speech, his handlers had him booked for a 5 p.m. flight out of Lambert Airport. And we said, Mr. Vice President, what time is your a limo coming to get you? And he says, 4:15. So a 5 p.m. commercial flight at Lambert from Union Station. Said, sir, this is St. Louis rush hour. You're not gonna make that flight. Would you want to jump in my unmarked command car? And he says, let's do it. So he's in my passenger seat. I'm driving, and Colonel Leshock's in the back. He's got his cowboy hat on, and we stormed up the highway, and we come into some traffic. I said, Mr. Vice President, you want me to hit the lights? And we, get going. He goes, I have had enough of that in my day. He goes, just get me there as fast as you can. We get there, and Colonel Leshock called ahead, and we were able to go through a back entry and get onto the tarmac, but he still had to go through TSA. But they pulled 2 TSA agents into a room, and they gave him the full search. And I said, I start to interject myself. It's it's Dick Cheney. And he said, relax. At the time I was
Did he say
I was a
relax, grasshopper?
Yeah, no, he said, relax, relax, Major. He said, I start at TSA. The least I can do is get searched. And so I didn't realize that, but during 911, he's the one that started TSA.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so me and Colonel put him on the plane in his seat, put his bag in cargo, and shook his hand and left. So that was I got good pictures of it, too. I sent them to you.
Yeah, we'll throw it on the broadcast.
Come on.
Remember Jamie McClellan, the goalie?
Yeah.
Yep.
He was playing for Calgary at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember how I got this gig, but they had a day off, and they went to Johnny's in Soulard, and they needed some policemen to work secondary and plain clothes just to kind of keep them in check, and not Malachek. But anyway, so we were there, and they were drinking, having a good time. Well, then Jamie wanted to leave. He was going to go whatever, and Jerome Iniglia.
Aginla.
Aginla. Great. He was probably the best player in the league at the time. He asked me to stay with him. So I had to drive him to other places afterwards, and so he got in my car and we drove him.
Other bars?
Yeah, we went down.
Just you and him?
Yeah, and he threw a couple of rookies in with him. So he said, just stay with him, make sure you don't get in trouble. So I did. And so we went to a bar, which is right down the street. It was I can't think of the name, but anyway, it was packed. And he was he was being aggressive, he's a great guy, trying to squeeze in through everybody. And one of the bartenders was like, hey, getting kind of mad. And she saw me, she knew me because she actually used to work for Lisa. And she was like, looks at me like, what's up? I go, he's an NHL player. He's cool. And she's like, oh. She spread the sea for him.
Parting in the Red Sea.
Yeah. So took care of him, and he was awesome. So that was probably one of the coolest things. I'm thinking, I'm driving around one of the best players in the NHL.
Hockey players are pretty cool to
They're
police.
the most.
They're very cool to police.
No question.
The salt of the earth,
Yeah.
I would say, of all athletes.
I like the questionnaire, John. You guys come up with some more? Is this going to
Wait a minute, can I add one more? No,
Hey,
I'm
that's
joking.
absolutely a no.
That's absolutely
no.
Hey, I told a couple in the middle.
Yeah, I mean,
John
come
threw
on.
this out earlier, and I told a couple in the middle, and I just picked that one. I got a couple.
Tommy's got a great one that I think. Are we going to include that in our VP Fair detail
the
episode?
VP Fair. That would that could be included in our next. In our
Any of the
VP
old
Fair
school
discussion.
coppers who are out there listening to us have a good VP Fair
Oh,
detail.
Absolutely.
It was wild. It was fun. It was long days. It was hot.
Yeah.
Elton
Some
John.
guys hated it, but
Yeah.
I always loved it. I look forward to it all year.
Shenanigans galore.
Wasn't
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
were you the Elton John story? That was a good one.
That was before. I think it was
Yeah.
a little before us. Is when they dressed him up as a policeman to get him.
Yeah.
I think that was Hackett, wasn't it?
Yeah, we'll try to find somebody who actually.
Well, I saw a picture of that.
Was
with him
involved
the
in
police,
that.
I saw a police uniform.
Yeah,
Are you serious?
They put
Elton
him
John
yeah.
was in a police uniform to get him to the stage
right.
so nobody saw him.
St. Louis police uniform. So
Legend has it that he took not the badge, but the hat piece.
And kept it?
Yeah.
Well, let's any of our listeners who were there at the time or know somebody who were there, let us know
Yeah.
on our our
Get that
email,
quick story.
because that is a pretty legendary tale.
That's nice. Hey, JJ, your nose looks like it's healing nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ball peen hammer that hit me.
That does.
The-
Bump
When
and
you were
hammer.
when you were JJ walking,
It was a, it was the exorcism got to me.
that was a spooky thing you sent me about the
there
exorcism.
was the little mention that JJ might have to get plastic surgery. Did you not?
Yes.
I think he was going to have to get exercise.
Well, you could use that too.
I definitely need exercise.
He's-
Actually, I went to the doc. I had to go to the doctor today and look at it, and I knew it was a waste of time. I'm like, I'm not. And they're like, you need to go. You know, your appointment not going to screw your appointment up. So when this guy found out he was a policeman, he looks at me for 2 seconds, says, "You're fine." He starts talking to me about police stuff. I talked to him for 20 minutes about policing, and he looked at me and goes, "Oh, that's not going to scar bad. You'll be fine. You're old as dirt. Don't worry about it."
yeah, yeah.
Can I ask you guys a
Mix-
question?
No.
If you had to get some policemen to secure your neighborhood, or you were running a business and you needed some policemen, you had a little incident and you needed some security for your executive staff, or you needed some security around your building, who would you call?
Campbell Security.
You're damn right. How can you get a hold of them?
CampbellSecurity.com.
CampbellSecurityGroup.com.
Yeah.
And you know what? And if you don't need them, you know what you can do? And just a little side gig.
Buy a
Is
bunker.
Is that Corby's partner, business partner, is Chris Saraceno. And Chris is the owner of Chris's Pancake House.
And the docket downtown.
Okay, yep. So what you do is go into those places if you want to, we need to support those that support us.
Yep.
And you go in either to the docket or Chris's Pancake House,
Get some blueberry pancakes.
whatever you get, and you just say, hey, the brighter side of blue sent me.
Got you.
So a little sidekick, Chris says, they love us, so give them some love back, right?
Just sell them at the city soccer game.
Tell them the brighter side of blue sent you to get 10% off.
Well, we just made that up. But
Hey,
throw
Hey,
that out there. I'm sure Chris will
There's
honor
no
it.
fact check.
I'm not an attorney, but that is not a real coupon that Dan
Right.
just put out there.
Hey, what?
Just, I
think
heard
it's-
that from Danny.
I think it's how
Or-
did how
or
did
you
you get
can-
involved with Corby? I mean, how was owning the pancake houses?
Hey, I don't
guess
think
Corby
I don't think
had-
that's
I
I
guess
don't think
Corby
that's
liked
any of our
breakfast.
business, JJ.
I was curious.
I mean,
think it's kinda
do you want to know all the
kinda-
negotiations?
I know
went
he's
on in the
pro
deal?
police and everything, so it's
Oh
good.
yeah, the whole family's pro police. Are you sitting on anything over there to chill us out? You got any?
I
you
am.
got-
Uh-oh. I heard that. He told us this is a good one.
Oh, don't jinx it.
JJ Zen.
Come on.
True heroism is remarkably sober, very undramatic. It is not the urge to surpass all others at whatever cost, but the urge to save others at whatever cost. You do that again. I kind of screwed that up.
Yeah, you kind of. Yeah, it's all right.
That's
Hang
all
in-
right.
Hang in there.
We're used to it.
I
We
wasn't-
always make you repeat it anyways.
We're used to it. Come on now.
True heroism is remarkably sober, very undramatic. It is not the urge to surpass all others at whatever cost, but to. All right, let me stop this. We're going to stop this again because I want to do this right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I had this.
You need to know
I-
when to pause and shit.
Well,
Yeah,
I had memorized so well, so I want to do it.
All right.
Maybe just prove it real
All right,
quick.
let's go. Come
Yeah,
on
we're
back.
good.
with it.
We're good.
Come on, JJ.
Jack is good at this.
True heroism is remarkably sober, very undramatic. It is not the urge to surpass others at all costs. It is the urge to serve others at all costs.
Boom! Booyah!
Boom.
Got it. Now you always
That was
repeat it
great.
because
I got
I
excited
got
at the
it.
end
I
of
did
that
not
one.
want
I
to.
understood it.
yeah. Let's go.
True heroism is remarkably sober, very undramatic. It is not the urge to surpass others at all costs. It is the urge to serve others at all costs.
Yes.
Yes. Nailed it
Yes.
twice.
JJ,
Damn.
good job.
Very
That,
good.
and that's what I find that interesting. That was from Mary Michelle. She
Yep.
gave me one of her favorites, but it came from Arthur Ashe, who was a St. Louis guy.
Yep.
And he was. I think that was a great. I think that's a
That
very
was a
good.
very, very, very
That was a good one.
That was
Yeah,
very, very
great
good.
That was a
one.
good one.
And I got a question with that. Right now, the French Open's going on, and it is. I turn it on. I don't. Tennis is really used to be really big in this country. Can you, any of you, name a U.S. tennis player in the top 25? Where have they all gone? I can't.
There's a TCU guy that's in the top. Seriously.
Seriously?
Yeah, there is.
But you can't even name his name.
No, you caught me
There's
off
no
guard.
Agassiz, McEnroes, Connors.
Yeah.
I don't get it. What's wrong with our American tennis?
I don't know.
And
I
I
was
like
never
it.
really a tennis guy.
That's fine. The U.S.
I mean,
Open
I
is
get it.
sport.
Yeah, I mean, if you're good,
But how come? Why isn't there not a household name of American tennis player?
They've all gone over to pickleball.
Yes.
Yeah,
That could
seriously.
be.
Exactly.
No, seriously, Ben Johns. Seriously, don't
Yeah.
get me started. don't even go there.
Hey,
with
Danny,
me.
I know. I had to do a couple takes on the Zen.
Yeah,
Could we get to it a little earlier so I don't,
Yeah, I got you.
Right.
I got you. No, you did good.
forgot about it.
What's the guy? Never mind. I'm not even.
No, seriously.
I'm not gonna
There's
go
there's no tennis players in this country.
There isn't.
Staying,
it's kinda fell
in
off.
the sports, St. Louis Battlehawks of the UFL won a big game that sends them to the conference championship this weekend. They won the game by implementing the Super Challenge.
Uh-oh.
A Super
Dumbest-
Challenge.
Dumbest thing I ever heard.
Well, apparently JJ was super challenged reading the Zen this week.
John, you used to be my favorite.
Our audience won't know how long it took to actually get to that.
Right, because
Zen.
Jack will probably cut out 3 of them and leave 2. That was a good. And
Jack, you got my back, right, brother?
Keep it all in, Jake.
Producer John, do you know the Super Challenge in the UFL?
Hit me to it.
So the Super Challenge is, everybody knows in the NFL, a challenge, you challenge that play, whether he was in bounds, out of bounds, caught the ball, didn't catch the ball, whatever. So the Super Challenge is, at the end of a play, the team that's going to Super Challenge can review the entire play and pick a part of the play that they think might be illegal and challenge that play. And that's what they did, and we won, and that's what sent us off.
and
to
it was
the-
an illegal,
and it was-
illegal man downfield, right?
Number 50 was about 3 yards downfield, illegal man
Super
downfield.
challenge.
Super
and you have to
challenge.
call out the penalty. Your super
You have to call,
challenge.
what you're looking for.
They just can't say there's.
You get one a game.
So in the NFL, it has to be germane to the actual scorer. In this league, you can challenge anything that might
That's
have
dumb.
happened.
Illegal in the play.
I would super challenge every freaking play.
You only get
No,
one.
you only get,
You only get one per game. That's bull. I don't care. I wasn't really. I'm so
all right.
mad about
I'm
it.
a super challenge the
don't-
whole season.
Yeah. So you get one play, one super challenge a
one
game,
super challenge a game.
and that's pretty
That
key.
would be a long game
But,
if we
What if
super
you're
challenge.
wrong?
but no, you get 7 points against you.
No.
I think that would hurt the ratings
No.
if you did it every play.
But if you challenge and you lose, do you get penalized?
I don't know. We won the challenge, so I don't know.
But that's what's
I
so
wish Huggy was here to answer that.
Yeah,
What's so dumb about it is though, it had nothing to do with the play. The guy down 3 yards downfield doesn't count. It doesn't matter. It wasn't.
You never
involved.
know. He could have dragged a little defender with him or something.
That's why it's the second.
So you're
tier
down
league.
on the Super Challenge. That's
I
cool.
think it's
I'm,
the
Let's
I'm
second
move
good
on.
on
tier
the
league.
super challenge.
I
We're
guarantee-
gonna move on. We're gonna move on to an
Why?
apology
NFL
because we
would
were
never
because
have.
we were mean to producer
Oh,
John
dude,
last
we were
week.
catching some heat on this.
We a lot of listeners have chimed in, hate mail. I got hate mail about the way we treated producer John for that pathetic newsroom.com he threw out 2 weeks ago. But I mean,
Now, Tommy admitted that when he went back and thought about it, it was a good story. Now, I will fall on the sword and say I was combining 2 different newspaper articles, trying to make it into one very interesting story that our listeners would love, but I didn't do the best job because I got.
all right, and I apologize.
Fuzzle.
I apologize for
I
the way we.
apologize.
I
We-
apologize,
we-
JJ.
I
To
still love
save
you.
my
I
life,
still
I
love you
couldn't
guys.
tell you what that story was about.
Still,
You want me to tell it again?
No, we're good. We're sorry, and
let's stick with our sorry.
we're feeling good. So, having said that, are you sitting on a newsroom.com right now?
Yeah, and I'll try to make this as succinct as possible. But this was pretty interesting, and this is from 1945. It didn't happen in St. Louis. It happened in New York. Maybe some of our listeners have heard this story before. I just came across it. But did you guys know that in 1945, during World War II, a United States military plane hit the Empire State Building?
No.
So it was a dense fog, and these pilots during those times were supposed to fly obviously at a certain altitude, but this pilot got disorientated and hit the building, and he and several other people that were on the plane got killed.
Oh wow.
and then people that worked in the building got injured. But there was a 20-year-old woman named Betty Lou Oliver who was an elevator operator, and she was doing that temporarily because her husband was in the war, and she was just doing it to make money. Well, she was on the 80th floor when the plane hit the building. Well, the two engines of the plane went flying through the Empire State Building. One went down an elevator shaft. The other one went all the way through the building and shot out the other side. So Betty, when it hit, Betty got knocked out of her elevator. She was on the 80th floor. And there was a fire, and she got burned, and she had some injuries. So back then, they just put her on another elevator, right? So Betty's coming down. When she gets to the 75th floor, the cable snaps, and she falls all the way to the basement of the Empire State Building. So 75 stories. She fell, and she lived through it.
Wow.
She got burnt in the other elevator.
Yeah.
They switched her to the another one to sent down. The cable broke, and she fell down 75 flights and lived.
There was 6 cables. They all snapped, and then there was a braking system that also failed.
What were her injuries?
Severe.
Well,
Sprained ankle.
broken neck, back, and pelvis.
That's it?
Yep. So,
Wow.
according to Guinness Book of World Records, it's still the longest elevator shaft fall.
Survival.
Survival.
Nobody's willing to challenge?
Nobody really
Let me
nobody
try
wants that one.
76.
But they said that the elevator shaft was so tight that the air just kept her from falling as hard.
Wow.
And then all those broken cables at the bottom also kind
Cushioned
of
her.
cushioned her blow. So
I always heard if the elevator went down like that, if you laid flat, you'd have a better chance of survival.
yeah,
But
she said she grabbed onto
Or
the,
I heard if you jump at the end.
like Wile E. Coyote or something.
well, she said she grabbed onto the rails on the side to keep from floating up to the top.
How old was she at the time?
20 years old.
Wow.
You know
I know.
what I find crazy about that is we've never heard that story that a
Yeah.
plane hit.
Yeah.
That's
The
unreal.
Empire State Building.
So she lived to be
It was
like
one of
80,
our
she
own,
lived to be like 80 years old.
Oh, that's true.
Producer
Still.
John
That was better.
came back strong.
I'm back.
Very, very
I'm
good.
back.
It
Very
might be
good.
one of my favorites, John.
That was good.
Thank you, JJ.
And he said that so fluently. Did you notice that, JJ?
Yeah, I did.
I mean,
You learn from your mistakes. And
True heroism is remarkably sober on Jermaine.
That kind of speaking of our next show, the Rebecca's coming up shortly, but next week will be Joe McCullough, and he tells a story about a gal that got shot how many times?
well, 8 times.
And
I think,
then lived
but
or
like
something.
5 in the head. And
I mean, it was a crazy
li-
story. and
lived.
It ended up being a humorous story, but
Yeah.
sometimes you got to take a story like that and
There's
make it a
certain
little
people
humorous.
yeah, that was a fascinating story.
But that
coming up.
was
Survivors.
the same thing. How do you survive 8 shots in the neck and head? And then how do you survive 75 flights of stairs? Good
Yeah,
Lord.
That's a great one, John. Nice bounce back. Nice rebound, John.
I don't know.
I really worked on that one.
That was very good. So what do we got
Survival
coming up?
battle. Rebecca Smith. And, we're doing a new thing here where we're bringing in just different people and we're interviewing them in a different kind of style, as you'll see with Rebecca. And producer John and I are going to try to get as many things in. JJ works, you got shit going on. And we're going to try to get as many people as we can and do different things and try to put different stories together to make different shows and maybe put more out. We're not committing to this yet, but maybe put more shows out each week with a featured story as we go. But Rebecca came in and she told a really neat story. And she's never told anybody this story before, correct, John?
Yeah, she
You
told
tell
me
them
a couple
about it.
weeks ago. I've known Rebecca for a long time, and we were just catching up, and she says, "I think I have a story that you guys would be interested in. I haven't really told many people the story." And like Tom was saying, some of these stories we're just going to do not in this format of all of us sitting there. We're just going to do like let the person tell the story to the camera, and Tom and Becky did a great job on this story because Becky just told it from her heart, and it didn't need any questions or anything else. So, you know, I really appreciate her coming in and telling the story. And I think a lot of people who listen to it will get something out of it, because there's things that she brings up that you don't think about when people are victims of crimes, about how hectic it is and how hard it is on the victim.
Right. And then how she took that and made a difference. And that's what her vow was, is to take that incident and make a difference.
Oh,
And she really tells a story how that really helped her out. And we hope you guys enjoy that. We'll be right back.
Let's give it a listen.
Rebecca, thank you for coming in. We appreciate you. You know, you're going to tell a pretty powerful story, and we appreciate you coming in, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I guess we're going to get started with them, you know, right off the bat. And tell us a little bit about the incident that you were involved in before becoming a police officer that really went and make you be a police officer.
Yeah, sure. So June, can't remember the exact date anymore, June of 1996. I was out with some friends. We were out, I believe, in Chesterfield, meeting with a group of friends, and it was me and my boyfriend at that time. We decided to leave, and he invited me to stay at his condo in the city that night. So I said, okay, I'll meet you there. I had to run home. I lived in Creve Court at the time, so I ran home, grabbed some stuff, and he said, all right, meet me down there at midnight. Okay. So I parked in behind his building where I always park. I walked around the side of the building up to the door, knocked on the door, no answer. I saw a man standing probably 50 yards from me, just kind of wandering around in the grass and whatever. So I saw him, didn't really pay him too much attention. There's always people walking around. It's the Gate District. People are always walking around. Knocked on the door, no answer. Knocked on the door again, no answer. Back then, no cell phone, right? So I walked back to my car to just kind of wait in my car. Within probably a minute of being in my car, there was a knock at my passenger window. I looked over and there's a gun pointed at me saying, unlock the door, unlock the door, unlock the door. Unlock the door, because of course I'm going to comply. There's a big gun pointed at me, later to find out it was a Tech-9, so it was a little scary. Unlocked the door. This man got in, and he said, just drive. My car wouldn't start, which was really even more frantic because I had a really, like, kind of a piece of junk car, and wouldn't start. It finally turned over. You know, what do you say? You know, he kept saying, don't look at me, just drive. I'm like,
With the gun pointed at you the whole time?
Gun in his lap, pointed at me the entire time. I had a very small 2-seater car, so the gun was like close. It was right there, right here. So I started driving. I believe it was on California. Street names are a little foggy, but started driving, and it was crazy because as I'm driving down this road, I'm going super slow. And he kept saying, don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid. Just drive. So I asked him, where are we going? Just drive. As I'm driving, a police car comes the opposite way, a 2-man car. They're coming the opposite way. And I'm like, do I hit this police car to get their attention? And he kept saying, don't do anything. There's a police, don't do anything stupid, you know? So I'm like, I could hit him, but this guy's got a gun. What if he opened fires on the police, you know? What if...
Are you?
On me, you know? So he kept saying, if you do anything stupid, I will kill you. Okay, so I just drove right past the police car. My heart is dropping because I'm like, oh, the police are right here and I can't do anything. He guided me down Shoto to Ewing, and now I believe, like, on one corner it's Andy's Seasoning, the other corner is Villa Lighting, I believe now.
Okay.
So Shoto and Ewing. There was an old brick building, abandoned, just very small structure. It was like a garage. He told me to pull around the back of there and get out of the car. So, of course, I do. He took me over behind the building, laid down some kind of gross blanket because it was all gravel lot. Not even a blanket. It was just like a piece of material. It was gross. He told me to remove all my clothing. I complied because I still had this gun on me. And then he made me lay down, and he kept saying, just keep your eyes covered. So I had my hands over my eyes the whole time. His voice was very unique. Almost like a mix of, like, Gilbert Godfrey type of
A high pitch?
you know, kind of in between normal and high pitch. It's just a very strange voice. I'll never forget that voice. But he raped me, and behind that building, made me stand up and count to 100 after that while he got away. Well, I'm listening, I could hear footsteps across the gravel. I could hear him in my car. And before that, I'll back up just a minute. Before I got out of the car, he made me give him all the cash out of my wallet, which was like $3 $20 bills. I'll never forget it. And I had a Looney Tunes scrunchie on the center shifter. And he took that and was wiping things down in the car. And it covered my eyes, right? So I'm like trying to peek through, trying to look at this guy, but I also had a gun pointed at me. So, what do you do?
Right.
And then he made me get out of the car and do all that stuff. But I was standing there naked in this gravel lot. At this time, he had gathered his piece of cloth or whatever he made me lay on. So I'm standing on gravel, barefoot, naked on Shoto Avenue, with my eyes covered, counting to 100. And I could hear him walk off in the gravel. So I just kept counting. He kept threatening me so much, if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you. If you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you. I know where you were at. I'll come after them, So I'm thinking, great, and the whole time this is going on, I said goodbye to everybody. While I was laying there on the gravel, I said goodbye to, at the time I coached a competitive gymnastics team, I said goodbye to all my little girls, and
This is what's going through your mind.
this is going through my mind, and I'm praying, and I'm like, well, I guess I'll just say goodbye to everybody.
When he first got in the car, were you thinking that was the main possibility, or were you thinking robbery at the time, or?
I thought he was just going to have me, rob me and have me drive him somewhere and drop him off. Like he just needed a mode of transportation to get away from something or to get somewhere else.
So when you hit that alley now, are your thoughts different?
Yeah.
So when you pass that police car and he makes you go into that alley, now it's okay. Now things have changed.
I really thought he was just going to get me out of the car and kill me right behind that building. Like I thought he was just.
Because he already took your money.
Yeah. Once he took my money.
That's when.
And told me to get out of the car. I'm like, oh.
Okay.
Now I start praying, and now I say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah. So then, after the incident, the police are called. When do you call the police?
With all the threats that he made, it took me a minute. I drove up to, didn't have a cell phone, of course. I drove up to Grand by SLU Hospital and found a payphone. I called my boyfriend. He was finally at home. My boyfriend at the time. He was finally at home. So I said, don't go anywhere. And I was frantic. I said, I'm coming to you, So I went to his house, told him what happened. And, of course, he's frantic then. He asked his roommate, what do I do? Take her to the hospital. So we drove up to SLU. And a lot of things that happened when I got into SLU was kind of a blur. I was on so many drugs. They just pump you full of all these drugs. And
when you say that, so you get checked in, and obviously they do a rape kit, I would imagine.
Yeah, they took me straight back to a room, secluded room, no visitors. I just kept saying, call my mom, call my mom, call my mom. They're like, nope. I'm like, no, call my mom. That's all I wanted was my mom.
Understandable.
And they kept saying no. And finally they called her. But later I learned that when they called my mom, they wouldn't tell her what happened. They wouldn't tell her if I was okay, if I was hurt. They just said, you need to get to SLU Hospital. So my mom's first reaction was, oh my God, she's dead.
Yeah.
So she's frantic, and yeah, but they still, when she got there, they wouldn't let her back to see me. And I was under guard, they knew that this bad guy was still out there somewhere. All the threats that he made to me, that he was armed, and they wouldn't let anybody in to see me.
So were the police there first? Have you told the story to the police by the time your mom gets there?
I think the police were in the hallway near me when my mom, and I was just told them, tell my mom I'm okay, And I believe it was either the police or the nurse that told my mom that I'm okay, that I needed to be secluded.
So originally it's probably uniformed police officers that get your original story, and then do the sex crimes detectives come to the hospital immediately, or is it a minute before you talk to them?
Honestly, I don't remember a whole lot. I remember there were two male policemen that came in. From the medical reports, I was in severe shock. I wasn't talking a whole lot. I just kept saying, I want my mom. Once they when you're a victim of a sexual assault, the first thing they do is pump all kinds of meds into you to prevent any kind of disease, to prevent HIV, to prevent pregnancy. You know, it's just all these meds are pumped into you. And then the pain on top of that, you know, then you have pain meds on top of everything. So you're loopy. You know, you don't know your name. I didn't know what was going on.
And you probably don't, I mean, like you said, it's a blur. To this day, it's still a blur.
Yeah, I don't remember what I told the policeman. I know I told them what happened. I don't know to the extent. You know, when you're an investigator and you go in, you say, what happened? You expect the victim to say everything from point A to point Z, exactly what happened.
Right.
As a victim, you can't.
Because several things are happening here. I mean, obviously, the trauma from the incident, then the drugs, you're going through a rape kit, you're trying to talk to police officers that you've never seen, or you're trying to give them a story. So it's extremely, I mean, blurry, chaotic to this day.
Very chaotic, yeah. And then right after you're assaulted, the last thing you want is all these, you know, the SANE nurse, the sexual assault nurse examiner, when they come in, they have to do their thing, and the last thing you want is more trauma.
Right. And so how long were you in the hospital from the incident? Was it a full day or?
I went home really, really like the next morning. I just wanted to go home. I made them send me home. I was sick from all the meds, and they said that they would make you sick, and I was very sick from them. Very dehydrated, out of it, completely out of it. I don't even remember.
Even when you go home, you're pretty much out of it. When you get home, you go to your mom's house, I would imagine.
Yep.
And then how long does it take? I mean, do you just gradually you're coming out of it and now your thoughts are getting more clear?
Yes, it was, I didn't sleep a lot, of course. I mean, the meds made me drowsy, but I was paranoid. You know, I was afraid this guy was going to come after me. And now when he told me, don't tell anyone, and I told the police,
right?
You know, and now is this guy watching? Is my mom in harm's way? You know, is my stepdad in harm's? Is my dad, my brother? Everybody who responded, like, are they in harm's way now?
That's all going through your mind, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of blaming yourself for what you believe might be going on. Is that this guy might be coming back to hurt people
because
now, on top of the trauma from the incident. Now you're thinking that you've put other people in harm's way, and that's got to be just unbelievable. But
yes,
what about that incident? You told us that incident was a big factor in you becoming a police officer.
It was a huge factor.
Tell us about that.
Growing up, my neighbor was a police officer. I grew up in St. Louis County. He is a St. Louis County officer, and I thought he was just everything. You know, I'm like, wow, my big badass neighbor. You know, and he used to lift me over the fence, and he was just cool. He used to let me play with the lights in his police car. You know, and so I was like, wow, he's the greatest thing ever. But then, and I didn't even think about becoming a policeman. Like, I loved, you know, I thought they were cool because I grew up next to one. But after that incident, I was like, you know what? That was so traumatic. And I didn't process it very well for the first couple of years. I was a mess. And I was like, I want to help victims. You know, you get why did you become a policeman? And everybody says, oh, I want to serve my community. Well, I didn't grow up in the city. I grew up in the county.
Right.
If I wanted to serve a community, it would have been St. Louis County. But I was like, no, I want to be a city policeman because that's where my incident happened. I loved my detectives. My sex crime detectives were amazing. I'm like, I want to be like them, and I want to help victims, and I want to do better for them.
Right.
So in 1998, I got on the police department, worked really hard.
Which is about how long after the incident?
2 years.
2 years. Now, you mentioned your sex crimes detectives. Who were they?
Lewis Clayton and Andre Watson.
Oh, then two great guys. Two great guys. So and then so when you get on, the suspect is arrested, correct?
Yeah.
And Lewis and Andre arrest him, and then you got tell us about that.
I went through over quite a long time. I went through a whole lot of books of mugshots, but with him making me cover my eyes, I couldn't identify him. They ended up doing a voice ID on him, and poor Andre had to chase me out of the second floor of old headquarters because when I heard his voice, I took off running.
Really?
Yeah, it
So-
scared me when I heard his voice.
So they put him up and then made him say, what did they make him say?
I don't even remember. I don't remember.
But usually,
It's a phrase that he used on me, like one of the phrases he used. I told the police, all of them. So when they got up there, he had to say like each of the suspects in the lineup had to say it. And soon it was, I think, the third or fourth one that had to talk. And when I heard that voice, I took off. And poor Andre, he had to chase me down up on the second.
and how long had you had on at that time?
I wasn't on yet.
So you
Within
so
the
you get the idea. Okay, so you're in the process when he gets arrested. Okay, and then because you were talking about earlier about 5 months in, then he goes to court, correct?
He goes to trial.
And then you have to testify. And so you got 5 months on, and you're testifying in a crime.
In a major crime.
Right.
Yeah, because we found out at that point. I worked with Jane Geiler. She was a prosecuting attorney. There were 12 total victims. They came to find out there was 12 total victims that they knew of that DNA hits came back on. Only 4 of us testified, which is actually a pretty good percentage, I think.
Really.
He ended up getting 4 life sentences plus 225 years for the crimes just against 4 victims. So if you can imagine whatever, I think about 12 of us testified, but
And now is he still alive? Do you know?
he is.
Is he in prison?
I look him up in VineLink quite often just to make sure. He filed an appeal in 2000, but of course that didn't work out so well for him. But
You were telling,
incarcerated.
you were saying earlier that you were keeping this from everybody, that
Mm-hmm.
not many policemen knew, and this is pretty much the first time you've ever told the story to police officers.
Yeah,
We appreciate you telling us. But when you get on, your goal was to go to sex crimes, correct? Because that's where you really thought you could make a difference.
yep.
And you do finally make it there. When do you make it there, and how did that go down?
2008. Finally, I was having a lot of fun on the street. I worked for Al Moore.
Right.
Who would want to leave that guy?
Right.
Tim Sachs, Keener, Joe Spees, and it was fun. I had great experiences on the street with all the street teams and everything. So I was having a lot of fun, and I was like, no, I'm going to do what I came here for. I've had my fun. I've learned everything that I can. Let me go do what I was meant for. So I applied for sex crimes, got it, went there in 2008. Learned a lot, went through a lot of training, of course, but in the back of my head, I'm like, I know how to talk to victims.
Right. Well, I think I can make a difference.
Yeah.
Now, when you're going through that training, was the training similar, you as a victim? Was that training where you sitting there the whole time going, I get it?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people that go through training have never been through what they're getting trained for.
Yeah.
They do it in the expectation they're going to need this.
Mm-hmm.
So the training did it bring back a lot of memories?
It did. Being up there for 2 years brought back a lot of memories. Started not sleeping again, but I pushed and pushed because I wanted to be there for the victims. The training, some of it, I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. But then some of it, I'm like, let's not do that.
Right. So there is something you would criticize, you would disagree at times with some of the training?
Yeah.
And that's reasonable because you're like, I've been through this and I know.
Yeah. And in the back of my head, I'm like, maybe I should conduct the training. But
There's something to that, is that I have an input. Just like when you went to sex crimes, I think your goal is to have an input on some of the outcomes of these, not just arresting people. Like you said, 'cause some of them go unsolved.
right, a lot. Yeah.
But you can really help those victims knowing what you know.
Right.
And I think that was your biggest reason, wasn't it?
It was.
And was it gratifying when you got up there and helping victims?
It was a little bit different than I expected, just because there's such a big array of victims, some of them just didn't get paid that day, so it was the false report, but then you had your victims that were kind of like me,
Absolutely.
I understood the trauma that they went through. I understood why they couldn't remember things. And I did learn that if you pressure victims into telling their story, they're going to regress even more. They're not going to remember things. It has to come naturally. The flashbacks come naturally, and that's when it starts triggering every little thing that happened. 2 years later, I was like, oh yeah, he did that. I forgot about that part,
Right.
So it was,
And understanding that from the victims, and you tell them that off the bat, it's different than trying to get the whole story right away.
right.
And because like you said, sometimes they can just shut down on you.
completely shut down.
Right.
Yep. And you can't trigger thoughts that weren't true. So you have to really watch what you say when you interview them.
Right. Can't lead them.
Right.
Saying,
Exactly.
is this what happened? And then you lay out what you think happened, and then you say yes.
Right.
Now it's
It's tricky.
a good interview technique in other crimes and interviewing suspects sometimes, but not so much victim. There's a completely different interview between victims and suspects.
Absolutely.
So, and there was an incident while you were up there. You were sitting next to, I guess you would call him your partner because you're sitting right next to him. And tell us a little bit about that.
So when I first went to sex crimes, I got trained by the notorious Rick Noble. Him and I became pretty close. You know, great guy. Love that guy. Anyway, he got assigned a CODICIT, which is the DNA hit from a sex crimes kit. There was a backlog, so he was going through a lot of the lab results from all these DNA hits. And he's looking up reports, and he's got a stack of reports probably this big on his desk, and evidence galore. His desk was always a mess, but that made it even worse. So he's reading a report, and he stops, and he looks at me, and he's like, Becky, I have a question. And he points to the victim screen on one of the old PERS reports, and he's like, is this you? So I kind of looked around. I'm like, yes, it is. Let's kind of keep that to ourselves, you know. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do with it? Just prosecute it. Go after him, you know. So between Rick and Jason Stoyer, he was also up there and got a couple of them. Rick pretty took much if my name popped up with that same suspect. You know, if that suspect name popped up, he would come to me. What do you want me to do? Nail him. You know, let's go. Absolutely. Let's get him. You know?
Absolutely. So they got more charges on him?
More charges. I don't know how many exactly, but even when I got promoted, went back on the street in 2010, Rick was still calling me. I got another one. What do you want me to do? And I'm like, get him, Rick. That's all I had to say was get him, Rick. And he was like, all right, I guess I'll be traveling down to the prison to interview him or what happened. So, yeah.
So we often talk about family on this and how the police department can be a big family.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that being around all the people that you mentioned and being part of that family really helped you in tough times get through this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's once, especially with Rick, I could open up to him, you know, and he understood 100%. And he kept it. Rick didn't tell anybody. I asked him not to, and he kept that a secret.
And even when you went to court on the original incident, you asked your lieutenant if he would keep it, you know, pretty silent. And again, John and I have worked around you for a long time, and this was a complete surprise to us when you told, and I think you told John, and you said, I just want to tell my story. And
yeah, finally, right? It's 20 years later, but
yeah, and then and you work with Al Moore now.
yeah.
So it's kind of, you know, and that often happens in a family, right? Mm-hmm. Is that you did a good job for Al when you worked on the police department. And when Al moved on and you got your 20 years in, you found an opening, didn't you?
I did. Al invited me over to Spire, and I said, let's go. I'd love to work for you again.
Right.
Thank
And and then again, the police department has a cycle. Mm-hmm. I always call it. And sometimes you reach a point and you just want to kind of explore other options. And when your friends are out there, and it happens all the time within police departments, is that friends move out and then they bring some of their friends with them, and
Sure.
and then you build another family, which you have down at Spire, correct?
I do.
So you have
Bunch of retarees down there.
Yep.
John even, you know, at one point. Yeah.
So that's it. And Rebecca, I just want to thank you for coming on. And it means a lot that you shared your story with us, and it's an incredible story. I don't know that anybody else has come on the police department because of the circumstances you were under and what you endured, and the courage that you showed to get through it and actually go out and make a difference. It means a lot. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, that was Rebecca and her story, and that was just
Powerful.
an awesome story. And we can't thank her enough. And Rebecca did how many years, John, on the job? 20 plus.
Yeah, and I worked with her at Spire for 2.5 years, and you know, we become really good friends, and I you know, I know it was really hard for her to come on and talk about that, but she
Right.
really wanted to do it.
And then it was just neat seeing how she told that story and the difference that she ended up making with victims and knowing how victims can feel in those situations. And it's not that easy. And like I've always said, that would be the hardest job for me. Just me personally would be sex crimes because of the anger that you can get from those situations. Whether it's a child involved or it's a person that you really care for that's involved in those situations. You just want to, like if you're trying to get a confession or you know a guy's good for something, the restraint and the professionalism it takes. Then she mentions a guy, she mentions Rick Noble in that. And Rick was very, very good at sex crimes investigations. And there's other ones that were very great at it. And it takes such a different personality and a different, aspect of being a policeman that a lot of us don't have. I don't have it.
Right.
I could not. Could you guys do that?
No, for her to go through that and then actually do that investigative work, it's pretty powerful. For her, that's pretty
because
credibility.
not to carry that anger with
Right.
you, because that happened to you, and to refrain from that anger and really focus on what she really wanted to do was help those victims. I don't know that I could have done that. I would have went down there with a little anger and towards the suspects.
Well, she knew what.
And,
Who could be better at consoling people that have been through that dramatic situation than her?
Right.
It's actually a credible story.
Right.
I appreciate her
And
coming
it-
in. and doing
exactly.
it.
It took
It's
a lot. It
unbelievable.
takes courage to tell those kind of stories and like we said, she didn't tell that story to a lot of people. And John heard it for the first time and a couple weeks ago, and we really wanted to get her on because we thought that would be a good message for to get out there as far as the brighter side of blue, right?
Yep.
That's what we want, is that people do stuff like
That's
that.
what it's all
and
about.
Officers do stuff like that, and Rebecca just showed a lot of courage coming on and telling the story.
Yep. What do we got?
Let's wrap it up, brother.
And how do we wrap it up?
We wrap it up with communities that support law enforcement are much safer places to live.
Peace.
Amen.
Out.